And I will be judging the boats. They're going to have a contest. They're going to be lighted.
Well, that's right. I tried to bribe you the other day, but then you said I didn't have a boat.
Yeah, we had a boat anyway.
Saved me a lot of money. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, I don't have a boat either.
Well, looks like we're out of the water in
Our
this
boat's
case.
sunk, right, yeah. We'll have to find friends.
No paddle or something. Find a
Say
creek.
good night quickly.
Good night.
Good evening. This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Doctors have removed 2 more growths from President Reagan's colon. They did so today during hospital tests to check for a recurrence of the colon cancer the president had a year ago. The results are not in yet on whether these new growths contained any cancerous cells. Leslie Stahl has the hospital latest.
The president's doctor said tonight that during the exam, 2 small polyps were discovered and removed. The results of the laboratory test will not be available till Saturday, but the president was upbeat.
What did they find? It's okay.
The Reagans left Bethesda Naval Hospital in a downpour and headed straight for Camp David after 5 hours and a thorough medical exam, the president's 4th checkup since his operation for colon cancer a year ago. The White House doctor said the polyps were very small, 1 to 1.5 millimeters. In the president's last checkup in January, 3 polyps were removed and found to be benign.
This is not a real reason for concern because it is common to find polyps in the large intestine of patients who've had previous polyps or cancer.
Today's exam included blood tests, a CAT scan, and a colonoscopy, where a doctor uses a long, flexible tube to visually inspect the large intestine. It was through such an exam that doctors first discovered the president's tumor last July.
The president has cancer.
Since Mr. Reagan's operation last year, doctors have said he has had a 100% recovery, but that he would need periodic checkups every 6 months or so. The president's team of doctors also examined his nose, where a malignant growth was removed last year, and found no recurrence of the skin cancer. Overall, the doctor said in a brief statement, the president is in good health. Leslie Stahl, CBS News, the White House.
The top Air Force officer at the Soviet embassy in Washington has been ordered out of the U.S. The FBI says he was caught in a government sting operation. Rita Braver reports.
This man claimed to be out fishing last night. FBI agents say he was the big catch. The senior Soviet air attaché, Colonel Vladimir Izmailov, arrested near a remote Maryland highway as he allegedly attempted to pick up a package he believed contained U.S. government secrets.
For the past several months, Colonel Izmailov attempted to develop, as his agent, an officer in the United States Air Force assigned to Washington, D.C.
But the officer, whom the U.S. government will not identify, instead helped trap the alleged spy master, luring him to meetings while the FBI photographed. What the Russians reportedly wanted, information on top U.S. defense projects, Star Wars, the stealth bomber, the cruise missile, and a supersonic space plane. What they got? Sanitized and phony information that cost them $40,000. In addition to last night, there were 2 other drops. What the U.S. government got?
Significant insights relative to Soviet intelligence tradecraft, tasking, and Soviet knowledge of U.S. classified programs were acquired by the United States intelligence community.
The FBI says the Soviets sent the Air Force officer signals by mail. They passed messages on tiny scraps of cellophane to be processed with special chemicals. They gave him this special camera using ultra-thin film to photograph documents. In an unprecedented news conference, the FBI flaunted it all, even the knife agents took from Izmailov last night.
They are putting a warning shot across the Soviets' bow that our limits of tolerance have been not only reached but exceeded.
Izmailov has been declared persona non grata and ordered out of the country. The Soviets had no comment. And as for the unknown U.S. Air Force officer, U.S. officials say he's an American hero. Rita Braver, CBS News, Washington.
Late today, 2 French journalists walked into a West Beirut hotel free after being held hostage for more than 3 months. Reporter Philippe Rochaud and cameraman George Hansen appeared to be in good health, and they said they had been treated well. Their pro-Iranian Shiite Muslim kidnappers said in a telephone call that changes in France's Middle East policies led to the hostages' release. Among those still missing in Lebanon, 7 more Frenchmen and 5 Americans. No word on their possible release. South Africa's white minority government took action today to ensure its full authority even if the so-called state of emergency is lifted. New legislation that gives police sweeping powers in any so-called unrest area and the right to detain anyone for 6 months without trial. Correspondent Alan Pizzi has more from South Africa.
2,000 South African police recruits paraded in front of their state president today and were told the facts of life South African style.
When South Africa and apartheid are mentioned, common sense disappears. Then hypocrisy, double standards, and a twisted morality come to the fore.
President Botha is making his first public appearance since the imposition of the state of emergency. And tonight, the President's Council overrode Parliament and approved new legislation that would give the police massive powers even if the state of emergency is lifted. In either case, these new recruits will still effectively be able to detain anyone without trial, indefinitely, and incommunicado if the police think that person may be a threat to the state. More than 1,000 people are known to be in detention, among them union leaders. Retail stores have been hit by strikes protesting these alleged detentions, but it is illegal to report the details. Local newspapers did their best to get the news out. The Weekly Mail, ironically subtitled "The Paper for a Changing South Africa," risked possible prosecution today by running blank spaces and blacking out what might be illegal under the emergency press restrictions. South Africa's government-run television just dishes up what the government hands out. But between the lines are indications of problems. A curfew has been imposed in the volatile Eastern Cape. Restrictions have been placed on displaying political symbols, even on T-shirts, and on funeral ceremonies. Scenes from funerals of 2 white victims of last weekend's car bomb underscored South Africa's problems. The government blamed the African National Congress and justified its emergency laws as necessary to prevent further outrages. These new recruits are the cutting edge of those laws, and they cannot be prosecuted for anything they do to enforce them. Alan Pizzi, CBS News, Johannesburg.
This is an average hand, but not everybody's average. So at IBM, we make sure our products fit you, whatever size you are. IBM machines swivel and move, adjust and tilt, because you do. So an IBM product not only makes you more productive, it makes you more comfortable. You'll recognize that the moment you get your hands on one.
When you need it most, you can get extra strength relief from acid indigestion with extra strength Riopan Plus. In lab tests, it neutralizes twice the acid as regular Maalox or Mylanta. It's that strong. You can also get extra strength relief from heartburn with extra strength Riopan Plus. Ounce for ounce, it neutralizes twice the acid as regular Maalox or Mylanta. It's that strong. Extra strength Riopan Plus. Regular strength, too.
The makers of Extra Strength Excedrin today announced they are pulling all capsule forms of their non-prescription medicines off the shelves. Bristol-Myers took that action after police in the Seattle suburb of Kent said cyanide-tainted capsules turned up in a bottle from a food store there. Authorities said as many as 6 Seattle area deaths would be reinvestigated in the wake of 2 fatal cyanide poisonings. Bristol-Myers said it will introduce its capsule products in so-called caplet form within 2 weeks. The U.S. Surgeon General estimates there are 12 million users of smokeless tobacco products nationwide. Many of the users are young, and to hear the Surgeon General and others tell it, they face serious health risks. With that in mind, correspondent Martha Teissner reports the verdict tonight in a first-of-a-kind case, a case seeking damages from a tobacco company for the death of a young user of snuff.
Victory for U.S. Tobacco left Betty Marcy shocked, shaken after her 2-year court fight to prove that smokeless tobacco, snuff, had killed her son.
Hey, guys. The kids will think that this is a safe product, and there'll be another 9 or 10 or 25 Sean's out there.
By the time he died at 19, Sean Marcy had been grotesquely disfigured by cancer of the tongue. He had dipped snuff for 6 years, the kind his favorite athletes promoted.
Tobaccos you enjoy without lighting up.
Sean's mother sued the makers of Copenhagen for almost $147 million, charging the company knew the product could cause cancer, but concealed the threat. U.S. Tobacco argued that there was no scientific proof that snuff had caused Sean Marcy's tongue cancer or anybody else's.
There was a lot of scientific evidence brought forward at the trial that the jury had to consider in rendering a verdict.
We had viewed this U.S. Tobacco case as critical. We think this will have the plaintiff's lawyers think twice before going after them.
But people worried about the danger of snuff hope that high school athletes and others will also think twice about using it. Martha Teichner, CBS News, Oklahoma City.
In the U.S. war on narcotics, Chris Kelly reports there's word today of a wider role for the U.S. military.
For several years, the Coast Guard has been intercepting drug smugglers offshore, yet they keep coming. Last fall, the military joined in a major drug enforcement effort, and officials say more than $27 billion worth of illegal drugs were seized. Today, the Pentagon unveiled a $233 million plan to expand its role in combating narcotics trafficking, now considered a threat to national security.
This will become one of those commitments that we have to pay attention to.
The Pentagon wants to set up a network of 5 radar balloons along the southwest border. Each could spot traffickers for 300 miles around. Extra Hawkeye radar planes to be used for surveillance on the southern border. And more important, communications and intelligence control centers to increase intelligence gathering against the drug trade.
It becomes a target of military intelligence, which we can go after.
While the Pentagon says its expanded role would still be limited to one of assistance,
we in our system do not approve of the military establishment arresting civilian criminals.
The ACLU is wary of it.
This kind of program essentially permits the surveillance by the military of civilian personnel.
The Pentagon is quick to admit it has no assurances Congress will pay for the plan, a plan the Congress pressed for in the first place. Chris Kelly, CBS News, the Pentagon.
Separate rulings tonight by the Federal Trade Commission blocking 2 big mergers. They are about takeovers planned in the soft drink industry. Citing antitrust concerns, the FTC said no to Pepsi's plans to buy 7-Up and no to Coca-Cola's plans to swallow up Dr. Pepper.
This couple just lost their traveler's checks. American Express traveler's checks.
Are you sure we don't have to do anything else?
But American Express is delivering a refund right to them.
Maybe we should just go make another call in case they don't know we're...
Right to them in under 3 hours.
Mr. Webb? Yes, your refund.
Oh,
thanks. Only American Express can deliver a traveler's check refund right to you. Don't leave home without them.
Honey, you gotta learn to relax.
This is where it begins. Anywhere there's moisture, there's the chance of catching athlete's foot. This is where it ends. Mycotin. Only Mycotin cures athlete's foot with myconazole. Mycotin, the end of athlete's foot.
Consumers say the form of Tylenol they prefer most is Tylenol caplets. Caplets are specially shaped and coated so they're easy to swallow and have all the pain relief you expect from Tylenol. Extra strength caplets from Tylenol.
The Labor Department today reported that consumer prices rose 0.2% in May. That was the first inflation since January. Analysts said most of the increase resulted from rebounding gasoline prices. But for the first 5 months of 1986, the report said prices have fallen at an annual rate of 1.4%. Last night, Harry Smith reported about deepening trouble on the land as family farmers face increasingly tough government credit rules. With 2 out of 3 farmers now struggling on borrowed time, it's estimated that as many as 100,000 are in desperate search for new jobs. But in the uncertain climate of today's rural economy, Frank Courier reports some farmers find new life and others only a dead end.
Jerome Christensen now runs a pizza parlor in Winona, Minnesota. Ralph Cox works nearby for a gravestone maker. And John Hart hauls steel cross-country in a tractor-trailer rig. They are part of an emerging generation of displaced farmers who at midlife must start over in an alien world. The Harts of Indianola, Iowa sold everything but their furniture to pay off a $250,000 farm debt.
He went without a lot of sleep at nights until he finally decided that we couldn't see a way out.
John Hart, at age 52, chose trucking because he'd done it before. But most others, sociologists say, feel lost or inadequate after leaving the farm.
They have never thought of doing anything but farming. That's 90% of them. They've never had any other experience. They don't know what jobs are available, what things they might like to do.
Jerome Christensen's biggest problem after losing his farm was looking for work without losing face.
You've just been told in no uncertain terms that you're a failure. And I think that carries across when you go talk to somebody as an employer.
Here in Iowa and neighboring farm states, thousands of unemployed farmers have been helped this past year by a $200 million federal job program to retrain displaced workers. But Congress has approved money cuts that'll slash that program by more than half.
That plus the cutbacks they've already made in agriculture just exacerbates a problem in rural America.
Small private institutions have begun filling the void. Crowder College in Neosho, Missouri is retraining farmers in truck driving, while a nearby freight hauler is promising jobs.
They're family people, they're hard workers.
And in Minnesota, St. Teresa's College is offering free tuition to farmers seeking a 4-year liberal arts degree. But despite incentives, experts predict the majority of unemployed farmers will remain agricultural refugees, cut adrift from the land.
They are cast upon the sea of a country that, quite frankly, doesn't quite know what to do with them and where to place them.
And as they leave behind empty farms, they seem to disappear. Invisible statistics, some say, hard to track, too easily forgotten. Frank Courier, CBS News, Hartford, Iowa.
Yet another new radioactive legacy of the Chernobyl nuclear disaster has just turned up far outside the Soviet Union. Britain today put a temporary ban on the slaughter and marketing of well over 1 million sheep, all from the northwest coast of England and Wales. Reason, radioactive cesium from Chernobyl that came down in heavy rains in those areas in early May is now being detected in young British lambs.
In the world of fiber laxatives, there is a problem. Sandy, gritty taste. Introducing great-tasting Citracel. New Citracel is packed with fiber, and it's the type of laxative doctors recommend most. Yet when Citracel hits cold water, it bursts into a great-tasting orange drink. New Citracel. Great taste, no grit.
Coldwell Banker is America's largest full-service real estate company. And these days, you don't get bigger unless you do it better. Coldwell Banker, the home sellers, a member of the Sears Financial Network.
If you're 55 and retired, you can save on Allstate homeowners and car insurance.
Leave it to the good hands, people.
If you're not 55 and retired, quit your job and get old.
You're in good hands with Allstate.
A member of the Sears Financial Network.
President Reagan's new nominee to be a justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, Antonin Scalia, is the author of a federal appeals court decision that just came out today. Scalia's decision says the Justice Department may indeed label 3 Canadian films on nuclear war and acid rain as, quote, political propaganda. One of the acid rain films won an Academy Award in 1983. Growing up segregated, segregated schools, segregated neighborhoods, segregated lives. The bitterness of that life is well known, but what about the fruits of desegregation in this country? How does it affect people's lives? Tonight, CBS News correspondent Bob Simon takes an advanced look at the results of a soon-to-be-released study, a study that actually tracked the lives of U.S. students for 20 years to find out what living the dream really means.
West Hartford's the kind of neighborhood America moves to for its schools. At Hall High yesterday evening, 300 suburban kids were graduated from a comfortable past to a promising future. The 13 black graduates come from downtown Hartford, a few miles and many worlds away. They're sponsored by Project Concern, a pioneering social experiment designed to test what desegregation does. There has never been a shortage of opinions about this. Until now, there has been a shortage of facts. In 1966, Project Concern started sending black kids to predominantly white schools in the suburbs, sending them, keeping track of them, and comparing them to black kids who stayed downtown. This has been going on for 20 years now, and the results are coming in. Conchetta Lewis, one of 600 Project Concern alumni, works in a world of computer screens, carpets, and Caucasians. The study found that Project Concern graduates gravitated towards a white workplace and a mixed neighborhood. Take the kid out of the ghetto early enough, and the kid will stay out.
If you're in an integrated atmosphere while you're growing up, when you get out in the working world, it's no big deal.
Compared to blacks who went to inner city schools, the boys in Project Concern have had less trouble with the police. The girls have been less likely to wind up unwed mothers. Both have been more likely to finish high school and go on to college, overwhelmingly white colleges.
Going to school out here has made me see the possibilities my life can have. You know, it's not just getting out of high school or getting pregnant, and that's it.
Would have called it the politics of hope, because I think that's what this study is all about. The black students in Project Concern were given hope, and they took it and ran with it.
It did not come overnight. The first day those first black kids got on that yellow bus to a white and foreign land.
I remember that day. That was scary. It was really scary. They wanted to know whether I danced well. They wanted to know whether I ate watermelon. They thought I was dumb.
A lot has happened over 20 years. A lot has changed. But the isolation never disappeared, not entirely. 20 years later, there's still a black table in the cafeteria.
I had guidance counselors in high school tell me that I would not be accepted to any of the major colleges. I would not even probably be accepted into college because I was black.
Vanessa Filene went to Skidmore. She had learned that discrimination is like any other chronic problem. It's always there, and you can live with it.
I've learned how to overcome obstacles. I learned how to communicate and how not to be afraid.
The study does not suggest that the program can be implemented in every city. It does suggest that if America wants to be an integrated society, it needs integrated schools.
Tracy A. Johnson.
This is not a new thought. This is not a complicated thought. It's just never been established quite this way before. Bob Simon, CBS News, Hartford.
Police in College Park, Maryland today say they found a quantity of what they call white powder and a crystal substance in the car of basketball star Lynn Bias. The material was removed for laboratory analysis. The 22-year-old Bias collapsed yesterday and died of a heart attack. Authorities said neither cocaine nor any other drug alone could have produced the heart muscle damage doctors discovered.
Which cereal has more vitamin nutrition than any other? Kellogg's Product 19 cereal, but you'd never guess.
Oh.
Because Product 19 vitamins are flaky, bumpy, crispy, crunchy, and taste so good. Product 19 goodness comes from corn, oats, wheat, and rice.
Delicious.
Kellogg's Product 19.
Flaky.
Bumpy.
Crispy. Crunchy.
Tasty vitamins.
Through Sunday only, Color Tile's having a half-price sale that brings the rising cost of home improvement back down to earth. With half-price ceramic floor tile, half-price mosaic tile, half-price paint and wall covering. So get to Color Tile's big half-price sale, where you'll land bigger savings than you ever imagined. But hurry, this high-flying half-price sale ends Sunday.
The common cockroach has finally met its match. Long-lasting Ortho Home Pest Insect Control. It kills roaches, spiders, ants, and fleas. Then Home Pest Control lays down a zone of protection that keeps killing for 6 weeks. That's 6 weeks or more. Long-lasting Ortho Home Pest Insect Control. Ortho works wonders. Control pests and get a $2 rebate from Ortho when you buy a gallon of Home Pest Insect Control. See your Ortho dealer for details.
With the official start of summer tomorrow, our final report tonight is about vacation retreats where only favored VIPs get the VIP treatment, but the U.S. public helps pay the tab. Bruce Morton looks now at your tax dollars at play.
The national parks are jammed this year, with Park Service officials predicting attendance will set records. Motels near the national parks can be expensive. Never mind, we've found some bargains. Brinkerhoff House in the Grand Tetons, views of the mountains, the lake, maybe a deer. Sleeps 14, fireplace, costs $60 a night for a couple, compared to $100 for a room at the public lodge. Or this nice place in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, where President Hoover used to spend time. Costs $64 a night. Who owns them? You taxpayers. But you can't stay there. They're reserved for congressmen and federal bureaucrats, government VIPs.
They're going to places that are not plush. They're actually all very rustic. They wouldn't be up to the standards the American public is used to.
But Deputy Assistant Attorney General Jeff Miller, whom we found at that place in the Tetons, liked the house just fine.
Oh, I think it's spectacular. So just a wonderful, wonderful dwelling.
There are 3 more. One in the Catoctin Mountains in Maryland, not far from Camp David, $20 a night. One at the Cape Hatteras National Seashore, part of North Carolina's pretty Outer Banks, $25 a night. And maybe the prettiest of all, Little Cinnamon Bay House in the Virgin Islands. Sand and beach and palm trees and ocean, $65 a day. All in all, the Park Service and the taxpayers lost $44,564 last year, making these hideaways available at cut-rate prices to government VIPs. Some in the government think that's wrong. Congressman Sid Morrison, whom we surprised on a staff retreat at that Blue Ridge house, for instance, thinks he should have had to pay a realistic rate.
I totally agree. I'm a strong believer in users' fees for a lot of government services. That is where you can identify the folks that actually use the facility. There's no question we're using this facility and have it as a privilege, and certainly don't mind paying.
Dale Bumpers would go further, open the hideaways up to ordinary folk and make money with them.
The United States government has absolutely no business maintaining homes like these, which are essentially, they're almost free vacations for VIPs. It's a terrible idea.
But it's the Park Service's idea, and they want to keep it.
It's very worthwhile, not only for the park system, but for the individuals involved.
Worthwhile for the individuals? Sure. They're VIPs getting a perk. Worthwhile for the Park Service, which uses the houses to make friends in government? Maybe. Worthwhile for the average taxpayer who can't use the hideaways? Maybe not. Bruce Morton, CBS News, Washington.
And that's the CBS Evening News for this Friday. Dan Rather reporting from New York. We'll see you here again Monday. Good night.
Oh, a headache now. Anybody seen my extra strength Bufferin?
Yeah, my shoulder hurt. And Kim took it. Sore leg.
It'll help that. Kim, got my Bufferin?
Steve does. Got a backache moving scenery.
They all know how good my Bufferin is.
Extra strength Bufferin for Steve's backache, Kim's legs, John's shoulder, Debbie's headache. It goes to where you hurt fast with an extra strength dose of relief.
Curtain going up.
And I'm ready.
For headaches and a lot more, extra strength Bufferin, also in regular strength from Bristol Myers.
Your sink's all clogged. If you're so smart, what caused it? Grease, food, hair, Mama's casserole? Doesn't matter. Get the all-purpose drain opener, Crystal Drano. How about liquid plumber? No, it may not work on grease. Drano works on grease and food and hair. Love that Crystal Drano. There's liquid Drano, too. Liquid plumber can't beat it. In the clog-busting game, Drano's the name. Right. There's only one name to know, Drano.
Hey, denture wearers, if you love your pollen green, would you smile? If you love your pollen clean, would you smile? If you love it and you know it, hey, just smile and show it. If you love your pollen green, would you smile? Super Strength Pollen Green. You'll love the way it powers away tough food stains and keeps your dentures sparkling clean, even in between. If you love your pollen clean, would you smile?
Golf's top money winners of 1986 are expected to play in the Atlanta Golf Classic this weekend on CBS Sports.
This is CBS.